Imagine this. You've been in therapy for months, maybe years. You've spent thousands of dollars. You've cried through dozens of sessions. You've analyzed every childhood memory you have. And yet your dating life isn't any better. In fact, it might even be worse. Here's the shocking truth. Sometimes your therapist can actually wreck your chances of finding love. Instead of helping, they accidentally train you to become more obsessive, more anxious, or even arrogant and demanding in your relationships. Why? Because most traditional therapy doesn't understand attachment. It teaches you to think more about your feelings, not connect better. And if your nervous system wiring isn't secure, no amount of talking, journaling, or just being vulnerable will magically fix that. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why this happens, the red flags to watch out for, and how to finally stop letting people sabotage your love life. Now, if you're watching this video, there's a very good chance you have felt the disappointment yourself. You leave therapy sessions with a notebook full of thoughts and valuable takeaways from the therapist, but when you go on dates, you're stuck in your head. You overanalyze every word, every look, every pause in the conversation. Or maybe you've gone the other direction and you were told to step into your power, and now you're showing up cold, detached, and entitled, and you know that's not you. Either way, the results are the same. Your relationships keep collapsing. And at night, you're left wondering, why am I still alone? Why hasn't all this work on myself changed anything? That's when the quiet fear begins to set in. Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe love isn't for me. If that sounds familiar, no, you are not broken. You're not incapable of love. You're not unlovable. You've just been taught the wrong way to live. I'm Adam Lane Smith, the attachment specialist. I have spent well over a decade helping people rewire their attachment systems and build relationships that actually last. I've worked with thousands of individuals and couples, and I've seen the same painful story play out over and over again. Therapy that makes you more neurotic, not more connected. Therapists who, no doubt, mean well, but miss the root issue entirely, which is insecure attachment wiring. So if you've been spinning your wheels in therapy with zero results, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to understand what's happening and then to take a different path. So stick with me until the end of this video because I'm going to show you a few key things. First, the two most common ways that traditional therapy wrecks your dating life. Then, the hidden blind spot most therapists have about attachment and why it keeps you attracting the wrong partners. And then, why just be more vulnerable is one of the worst pieces of advice you can get when you have trauma wiring. After that, we're going to talk about the dangerous myth of fix yourself first and how it secretly isolates you from love. Then we're going to talk about the top 3 red flags that your therapist is leading you in the wrong direction. And finally, I'll give you the 30-day test you can use to know if your therapist actually understands how to rewire your attachment patterns at all. By the time that we're done, you'll know exactly how to spot bad advice, how to protect your dating life, and how to demand real results. So let's start with the 2 biggest dating traps that I see over and over and over in people who come to me after years in therapy. Sometimes 5 therapists, sometimes 20 years with 2 different therapists, but it all adds up to a lot of money and a lot of wasted time. Okay, first, therapy trains you to over-obsess. You live in your head. You analyze every detail. You're never satisfied. You're sitting there in session over and over and over, and they reward you for this by analyzing every little detail with you, obsessively grinding down every little thing you could be thinking or feeling and going back to childhood. How long have you spent working on your childhood? How long have you spent talking about how you feel? How much learning to think about thinking have you done? If thinking was going to solve your problem, you would have solved it 15 times by now. The other issue, and I've unfortunately seen this, is therapy can inflate your ego dangerously, telling you that you deserve everything, which turns into entitlement and selfishness. I've seen both. I've seen people destroyed by increased neuroticism and destroyed by increased ego. Either outcome, though, whether you become more anxious or more avoidant, destroys your dating success. You either show up incredibly afraid or incredibly arrogant. I have had clients who can't stop analyzing text messages and thoughts, but they've never learned that they can stop and ask the other person. 10 years in therapy, and it never occurred to them to learn how to communicate with the other person for clarification. I've also seen too many clients who go to therapy and become jerks because they were told to stand up for themselves because you deserve so much more, and let's get you on some medications to take away your inhibitions so that you go out there and do terrible things. I remember one client who came in, very anxiously attached young man, actually fairly kind, and he had gone through therapy. He talked to a therapist who then got him on anti-anxiety medications, high doses, and then built him up with massive ego. So he went out and started having an affair with a married woman. He felt like he deserved it after years of not having a relationship at all. He felt like it was owed to him and that the world owed him for his time. Over time, though, it ate away at him, and he started realizing this is not the human being he wanted to be. He went out, he got away from that therapist, got off his medications, and started realigning his life to his personal values. Then he came to me to work on the anxious attachment that had started the whole process, and now all of his damaging beliefs about how relationships were supposed to work. When we fixed his beliefs about himself, gave him skills to communicate and skills to work with other humans, he could build new relationship experiences that were finally what he'd always been looking for. Now, if you have attachment issues, especially if you have anxious attachment, you are going to have a hyperactive amygdala that tags everything as a threat and everything as fearful and dangerous. This is going to increase obsessive thinking. If you go to a professional every single week and sit there and obsessively think with a professional who caters to that and just endlessly goes through fearful neurotic terror over and over and over, and then rewards you with dopamine for figuring it out each time, your system will become more hyperactive, more fearful, more neurotic, and more obsessive. And meanwhile, you will be more miserable than ever. Raise your hand in the comment sections. Drop me a yep, that one's me. I'm the first one. Let me know if that's you. If you spend years in therapy learning to obsess more, and you love your therapist because they help you figure it out every time. They help you be more neurotic, right? Well, two brains are more neurotic than one. The other one, entitlement and arrogance. This is an avoidant defense pattern, by the way, that gets reinforced. A lot of people with disorganized style will go to a therapist, not just purely anxious, and learn that I deserve better. I've seen people with more nurturing anxious switch to toxic anxious through resentment and contempt. I've seen way too many therapists train people to be contemptuous of others. It's a weird mechanism some therapists teach. Be contemptuous of others as a defense so that you can get what you are owed. It is a weird practice. I've seen it way too many times. It is not a fluke. It is something that sometimes is taught. This is not every therapist, but I've seen it way too often. Also, some people go to their therapist and share very select information and don't share the reality of what they're contributing. So the therapist keeps hearing everyone is bad, everyone's bad, everyone's bad. Therapist gives them reinforcing information to treat everyone else like they're bad. Person goes out and feels validated and treats everyone else like they're the problem. Everyone else gets hurt because that person was contributing to the problem too. So why do therapists keep doing this? Why does this happen so many times? I get asked all the time, what is my attachment style? What is my attachment style? What is my attachment style? So I have finally launched the attachment assessment. This is not a short quiz that just spits out an answer after 3 seconds. This is a thorough, in-depth, science-backed assessment. Check it out on my website, adamlanesmith.com, and learn your attachment style, the severity of what you're dealing with, and some next steps you can take right now to build very secure attachment. The problem is that most therapists completely miss attachment theory entirely. Or even if they did learn about it, they don't know enough to talk about it. Here's that blind spot. Most therapists are ruining your life and your chance at love by not knowing attachment. Here's another problem. Because they don't know about attachment theory, They, by default, assume everyone has secure attachment. They tell you to try harder instead of addressing your nervous system wiring. They don't see that your anxious attachment has caused your prefrontal cortex to underdevelop, so you feel like you don't even have the power to self-regulate. They yell at you to start self-regulating, and now you can't, so you get more panicked. They make you feel worse about yourself. Or they don't see that you're avoidantly attached and your prefrontal cortex has overdeveloped and squashed your emotional expressions. They have no idea what your stress level is like. They don't see you at home. They see you calmly reciting logical information. They assume you're a logical thinker at home, and then they tell you that everyone else is the problem, puff up your ego, and send you home to do more damage. Most therapists don't understand that attachment is real, how it shapes your hormones, how it shapes your neurotransmitters, how it shapes your brain formation. They don't understand that. Most therapists don't even understand the nervous system. Now, occasionally therapists can rattle off some information like, well, you're seeking unhealthy partners. You need to stop. You need to stop. You stop seeking unhealthy partners. Start looking for healthy ones. They give you some red flags to look for, but that doesn't change what you're attracted to or who you attract. They miss the fact that trauma shapes what feels normal or familiar to you. And until you rewire it, you're going to keep repeating the same painful cycles. Now, talking about your childhood can help you understand a bit, sure. When I do coaching, talking about childhood is maybe 10 to 15 minutes maximum at the first session and very rarely ever again. We need to understand what's happened so that we can see what's happening now, and then we can start reshaping now for a better next time. But if you end up looping in your childhood for, again, sometimes years, you're not actually going to change anything. See, most therapists will stay stuck in the talking mode forever, and so you will stay stuck there. You'll end up drawn to the same partner over and over and over and over because that's all you know. Women, for example, who are anxiously attached and believe they don't have much worth, will find a partner who treats them like they don't have much worth, and then because she spikes and wants to please him, she says, wow, I'm really eager to please him. I must love him. I'm attracted to him. I should go right now and find him and please him. And it's her system saying, prove you have worth. Prove dad wrong by making this guy like you. This is the problem. Until you unwire that with skills and experiences, talking about your childhood is not going to do anything. You'll be drawn to the same person over and over and over. Now, just stop it. Or do something better. Communicate better. Just white knuckle it. Just make yourself do better. Just make yourself go on the date with that guy you don't really like. He's super nice to you. Just go on the date with him. Just make yourself. This ignores the brain formations, the survival adaptations, how attachment theory explains how your brain formed for survival and safety. Your therapist is saying, stop feeling safe. Be terrified and scared all the time, and that will fix it. Your nervous system seeks familiarity, even if it's unhealthy and scary, helping you understand and change that nervous system response to lower the difficulty threshold to then do different things so that you desire different things, so you're pulled toward better partners. That's the key. Yelling at you to stop dating bad partners and just give up and settle for a good partner that you're scared of, it's not going to help. I know that a lot of the people watching this show right now have had attachment issues for their entire life. That's why I want to invite every single one of you to check out my attachment repair program. It just might be the jump that you need to go from insecurely attached and lonely and frustrated to fully secure, connected, and bonded in a great relationship like nothing you've ever felt before. Check out my website, adamlanesmith.com, for the attachment repair program. Now, this in particular is why just be more vulnerable is some of the worst advice and can do more damage than anything else. Be more vulnerable can backfire spectacularly. Vulnerability, yes, it's powerful in secure relationships, but for trauma-wired people, this advice can be disastrous. Vulnerability sounds like different things. You tell an avoidant person to be vulnerable, they imagine themselves sobbing uncontrollably on the floor. They get nauseous thinking about it, and they want to kick their own butt and say, I will never do that. Why would you tell me to do that? You are an evil person. This is why going to couples therapy usually explodes in your face if one of your partners in there is avoidant, okay? Childhood abuse, depression, self-loathing, all of those processes, by the way, if the other person's anxious, they start dumping that on the first date. Oh yeah, I was abused as a kid. I really have all this crushing depression. I just hate myself. Imagine going on a first date and just being more vulnerable. That also doesn't work. Unfiltered trauma dumping is what we call that. So anxious people and avoidant people just be more vulnerable. If they white knuckle it and make themselves do it, it's horrible. And it's often very poorly received because they don't even know how to do that and get reception and pick the right people. It goes really badly. So instead of building closeness, it overwhelms or even repels partners. True vulnerability is transparency and trust, especially around accountability. Vulnerability should have a purpose. I'm showing you this so that you can be aware of it or so that you can help me fix it. Why are you doing it? Why are you showing it? Vulnerability should have a purpose, okay? It's gradual trust building, not unloading pain at the start or sobbing on the floor. Clients I have that do this successfully, hey, on the third date, I need to share something with you. I've been working with a coach recently, and I've learned that I have had an avoidant pattern in the past. That means that when I get overloaded, sometimes I tend to pull back. I am working on this. I've got a coach. I've got a really good friend I'm working on accountability like this with. Not your problem. You might see me at times get stressed out by work or something. I might go quiet and pull back. If I do, I don't need you to chase me, and I don't need you to fix me. Just give me a heads up that you notice I'm pulling back. I will step back in. That's being vulnerable. Being self-aware, doing the work, sharing accountability at an appropriate time, third date, right? You're easing into a relationship. That's appropriate vulnerability with targeted accountability. That's great for avoidant people to do right there with someone they trust. But again, all this other work has to be done first. Just be more vulnerable is one of the worst things you can tell most men, though, especially anxious men, because then they go on the date, right? In a Cheetos-stained Captain America t-shirt and sweatpants. Hey, I really like this, and I enjoy watching porn, and I smoke pot, and the woman's like, whoa, no thanks. And he's like, man, I was vulnerable, and people hate me. I must be horrible. No one will ever love me. Depression. Just be vulnerable doesn't add the extra piece. Become the best version of yourself and share that authentic version with people. Make sense? Endless self-expression, endless acceptance, endless therapy world. The world is not your therapy room. Okay, so your therapist continuously powdering your little butt like a baby does not do you any favors when you go out into the real world. Trauma survivors, by the way, as they open up, they usually have what's called problem-saturated stories. Hey, this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. Your dating partner's sitting there going, how are you alive? And what am I supposed to do with this? Overwhelming somebody with way too much vulnerability is a sign that you are unhealthy. But you're being taught to do it, aren't you? Now let's talk about the next one, the myth that ruins even more lives, the fix yourself first narrative. And this one's brutal. You've probably heard this one, maybe from your therapist. Work on yourself before you date. Sounds good, right? Wrong. Attachment wounds are created in relationships, so they do have to be fixed in relationships. Fix yourself alone in a cave by coming to therapy, by the way, twice a week, paying me every single time. That keeps you isolated and it reinforces your insecurity. I'm not saying run out and get a boyfriend so that you can fix him and yourself. No, you don't have to refuse to date and be alone for 10 years before you're allowed to date. That's not how this game works. Now, the real repair process takes place in safe, structured relationships where you can practice new skills and have new experiences with people. I have clients who spent years working on themselves with no change. And by the way, they were lonely the whole time, and many of them passed up a lot of fertile years they could have been having kids in, until they then practiced real relationship skills with me, mastered them, got a great relationship, and launched into what they'd been waiting for 5 or 6 years with a bad therapist. This does not mean jumping into toxic relationships. You do have to do at least enough to make sure you're not flagging for really horrible partners. Sure, basic compatibility, but that can be learned in a couple of quick sessions. Okay? Building safe, structured relationships is the answer. And these are skills. This isn't, let's spend 6 years talking about your childhood. You have something in your brain called neuroplasticity. Okay, plastic meaning moldable. Plastic can be molded. Your brain can be molded. We know that your brain can be molded at any age up through death. Okay, as long as you are breathing right now with a pulse, your brain can reshape. Secure attachment wiring forms through repeated safe experiences, either as a child or now as an adult. But to craft those better experiences, you need better skill sets with better people. Self-isolation keeps your old patterns locked in. Translation, you're never going to get better until you're having better relationship experiences. So you do need to learn the skills to select a partner that can have better experiences with you. But once you have that, it's quick. Most of my clients who come in for a 6-session package with me, 1, 2, 3, they master the skills, maybe 4. And by 4.5, 5, I got an email. Hey, I'm dating this incredible person. I want to run them by you and see if they are flagging correctly. And then what I can do to begin having better conversations. Amazing. Session 5 turns into filtering their partner. And then session 6, they often want to bring their partner in and talk and then set up the relationship for success with 5 or 10 key conversations they must have as a couple. It's amazing to see that transition and then see that loving impact and then get emails 6 months or a year later when they're engaged to get married and thriving and doing better than ever. I love that. When I get the wedding photos, it just gets me. So I know that this is doable. It doesn't take years. It can take a few sessions if your person's doing it right. But let's talk, okay? Let's talk shop really quick. Maybe you're watching this and you're saying, Adam, okay, how do I know? How do I know if my therapist is walking me off a cliff like this? Okay, cool. Top 3 flags of bad therapy advice. If any of these show up, especially if all 3 of these show up, your therapist is probably hurting you rather than helping you. Okay, 3 flags, 3 things we have to talk about. First, might sound normal, but most people miss this one. Your therapist gets emotional or angry at you. In any way, they get emotional or angry during the session. This is what we call countertransference. Your therapist is supposed to not do this. They're projecting their issues. Why are you doing this? You keep doing this. You went back to them again. You did this. You did this. What are you doing? Right? They get emotional or angry. Countertransference. Something about your story is activating them and they're no longer rational. They are now projecting issues and they need to win through you. Number 1. Number 2, your relationships are getting worse, not better. And I don't mean you're closing out a really damaging partner and removing them. That's one thing. That's actually relationship getting better, to be honest with you. But your relationships, the dates you go on, whatever it is, it's getting worse. You're lonelier than you've ever been, right? You feel more disconnected, more confused, more afraid. If your relationships are getting worse and not better, there's a real problem here. And finally, and this is, I really need to be blunt. If you've been in therapy for 6 months, and you have no results, you've got a serious problem. 6 months? Are you kidding me? 6 months is what it takes me and my team to reprogram someone to be amazingly secure in an incredible relationship. 6 months of therapy with no results. Let's say you're going every single week for 6 months. 4 weeks in a month. Let's say 6 times 4, 24 sessions. You've had 24 sessions, hour long, with this therapist, and you have no results to show for it? You're not ahead on anything? You just maybe feel a little better for a couple hours? But most of us say, oh, therapy can take years to work. No. If it takes years, it's not working. Big bonus, if your therapist tells you to violate your rules, your values, your ethics, run. Come on. It's time for you to stop playing by those rules. And no. Remember that rule, right? If we line up 12 American therapists, the research says, 11 of those therapists will be extreme, radical, far left ideologies, with the other 11 being moderate or otherwise. If your therapist is pressing their values on you and demanding you live by them to violate your own, run. Okay? A lot of therapists will tell you to get a divorce when you don't want to. They'll tell you. A lot of therapists will tell you to violate your religious faith if you don't want to, right? They impress on you their ethics and demand that you break yours or you'll never be happy. Ethics should not be broken. Ways that you engage can change, but ethics must be protected. I was talking with Dr. Caroline Leaf recently, who's one of the leading neurobiologists in the world, and she and her team have found that it takes between 58 and 63 days of focused work to permanently rewire a brain pathway. That's 60 days, 2 months, okay? 2 months to permanently rewire a brain pathway if you do it right. If there's no change after 6 months, 3 of those cycles, something is seriously wrong. You should have had 3 major pattern shifts in that 6-month cycle. If you've been in therapy for 10 years, you got something going on. That's 6 pattern changes a year times 10. 60 patterns should have changed. Do you even have 60 patterns? But if you've been in therapy for 10 years and you don't see that, you better have 60 patterns to show for it. Now, the longer you stay stuck in the wrong therapeutic cycle, the deeper those insecure patterns that are wired into you will become. Your nervous system will learn to keep doing the same thing because now a professional is validating them. Every single day that you spend rehearsing the wrong behaviors, your brain is laying down stronger pathways for insecurity. If you're not getting results in 60 days, you're deepening your patterns in 60 days. So let me put this into perspective. If your therapist is training you to overanalyze texts, every time you do it, you're reinforcing hypervigilance, not calm connection. If they're feeding you entitlement, every time that you show up cold or arrogant, right, you're burning bridges that could have led to love, and you're damaging your brain even further by teaching it that love is not possible. If you're told to fix yourself first every month, and you've done that for 5 years, every month you spend isolated is another month your brain learns love is not safe and I'm not good enough. Now let's be excessively clear. That's not neutral. You didn't spend 5 neutral years in therapy. One of my clients, 20 years in therapy and had nothing to show for it. That's not neutral. That's damage. It's years of lost opportunities, but years practicing the wrong skills and learning painful, bad lessons that become semi-permanent habits. But here's the good news. When you shift into the right approach, change can happen fast. I've seen clients who spent 5 years in therapy, 0 results, finally build healthy relationships within 6 sessions once they had a structured attachment plan. Not because they were stronger, but because they finally had the right roadmap. So I want you to listen closely. What I'm about to share next is how you test your therapist, how you find out in 30 days or less whether they actually know how to rewire your attachment or whether they're keeping you stuck. This is your pivot point. I call this the 30-day therapy test. Okay? 30-day therapy test. Here's how you can find out if your therapist actually knows how to help you or not. You're first going to start with a direct question. Sit down in session and ask, okay, I sat down, made a list. Here are my patterns. What does that mean about my attachment style? And how do we fix it? Here are my key patterns that we have talked about. Here are 5 key patterns. What does that mean about my attachment style? And how do we fix it? A skilled therapist who knows what they're about, knows attachment theory, knows how to do that, understands skill mapping, understands neurobiology, understands chemistry, right? And all of the body pieces and nervous system reprogramming. They will map out what attachment style you're dealing with. And they'll give you a structured plan for skill changing and exactly who to talk to in your life and exactly what to say to build new experiences that will permanently change your brain, your biology, your chemistry, your nervous system. They'll sit down with you and show you step by step. Now, a therapist who has no idea will dodge. They'll say, no, it's really complicated. Or they'll tell you well, let's explore that. What do you think you should do? This is called non-directive therapy. By the way, non-directive therapy is really popular with insurance companies because it avoids liability. Therapists are taught not to tell you what to do. The client is the expert. They'll know what to do if they just talk enough. Well, no, the research proves that's not true, but they'll try it anyway. Let's explore those feelings. What do you think you should do? It's complicated. Well, we're going to have to figure that out. 30-day action plan, okay? You don't need total transformation in 30 days. You need to sit down with them in the next session. You need to ask them what your attachment style is based on your patterns and the exact skill set you're going to use to build new experiences to reshape your nervous system and your brain and your biology. Then you have 30 days, right? You have several sessions in that, right? Once a week, right? That's 1 session to do this, 3 more sessions, maybe 4, to start walking through that plan. Push for action. What do I do? What is my homework? How is this going to change me? What skills am I learning today? What skills am I learning today based on my plan to give me new experiences? Push on your therapist to do this. Some targeted outcomes you should be looking for. Number 1, your overthinking episodes decrease. Time, frequency, severity. You feel calmer on dates. You catch yourself before you're repeating an old pattern, right? You have deeper conversations, but focused on a purpose. You're able to show up as your best self, fully authentic, but your best version of yourself. People start responding differently to you. You find that you're more attracted to partners who communicate better instead of partners who don't pay attention to you. Your attraction begins to shift over 30 days. Your behaviors change in your family and friend relationships as well. You're going to notice yourself feeling a little more confident because now you have skills to deploy. You're going to be going through experiences with family, friends, and with dates that will remap how you feel, and you'll start to understand what people want from you. This should all take place in 30 days. Now, if nothing changes in 30 days, that's a problem. You should also deploy what's called the progress measurement test. Ask, how will we measure our success? Cool. How will we measure our success? Now, if they can't tell you how progress will be tracked, they don't have a roadmap, which is actually probably against the law, because most therapists do a treatment plan with you. Here are your symptoms, your patterns. Here are the things we're going to do to overcome that. Here's the markers for progress that shows us we're working on it. They have to submit this, by the way, to insurance companies so they get paid. So there should be a treatment plan that they actually should be building with you. They might be doing it silently on the back end. I'd be very curious for you to see that treatment plan, by the way. There should be a treatment plan for what is supposed to be measured. They're probably not doing that, or they're just fudging it. Okay? Research shows it takes about 60 days for new neural pathways to lock in. That means by 30 days, you should already notice some improvement if you're doing the right work. You're going to notice skill changes. You're going to notice feeling more confident. Okay? Dr. Caroline Leaf's research confirms this. Around day 21 to 30, clients start to feel their behaviors are shifting. They notice a change. The resistance turns into more action. They like it. They shift. After that 3 weeks, your habits change into new habits and your brain likes it. Your brain is chemically rewarded. You're learning. The neurobiologists agree. Your therapist should agree too. Now, here's something your therapist doesn't want to hear. A lot of times you're going to go do this 30-day test. Your therapist won't be used to talking like this. They won't know how to do a specific skill map. They won't know how to build new experiences for you. And they're just going to be afraid of liability. So they're going to push back on you over and over and over about what you want to do. They might eventually get frustrated and act like you're a difficult client. I have clients who at that point, 30 days, terminate. Then they come to us and say, all right, guys, I'm going to give you a shot. I'm going to invest. You guys cost more, but let's see if you're worth it. They roll in. We do a deep assessment. We give them their exact skills. Every session is today. You're doing this skill. Do you have 5 minutes of progress that you need to report or anything? Check in on homework. Nope. Cool. Any changes? Nope. Okay. Skill training. We jump into skill training. We map out exactly what to do. We practice it. We program it. Then we say, here's your homework. Here's the experiences you must go have. Go do it. Come back and tell me how it went. We're going to remap next time into the next skill set and get you another set of experiences. After that, okay, that's why we have a 3-month program for remapping 1.5 patterns. You remap your bad patterns and you begin remapping good patterns. Cool. 6-month program, you fully remapped 3 full patterns away from the bad into good, into the better, right? To become more fully secure and start feeling it. That's why our repair program runs. Maybe you guys didn't know that. 3 months and 6 months. That's why. This is about protecting you, though. I'm not trying to poach clients here. Now, I want to be really clear here. I'm not here to humiliate therapists. That's not my goal. It's about protecting your time, protecting your energy, your heart. This is not even about trying to pull clients in, right? If you come to me, great. If you pick a better therapist next time, great. This is about protecting your investment, time, money, energy, heart, and not doing more damage to you. If they pass your test, amazing, great. You have found a good therapist who can actually help you. Keep directing them. Skill training experiences. This is the path. But if they fail that test, you finally have permission to walk away without guilt. Because once you start demanding clarity, you're going to see what transformation is actually supposed to look like and the person you've really been sitting there in that room with for years. Now, let me be clear. If your therapist has done extensive damage to you, I want to say this. You're not unlovable. You're not broken. You're not doomed to repeat the same failures forever. What's really happening is this. You've been handed the wrong instructions. Imagine trying to bake a cake with a recipe for making lasagna, okay? No matter how hard you try, the cake is never going to come out right. It's not that you can't bake a cake. It's that you're not making a lasagna correctly, right? Love and relationships are no different. Connection is a skill. Security is a skill. All of these are skills. When you have the right recipe, everything changes. Now you can have success, but you don't have the skills because you've been talking for too long. So think about it, okay? The anxious partner who used to panic after every unanswered text learns to regulate. They learn to set boundaries. They learn to attract partners who make them feel loved and cared for. And they no longer mistake chasing for attention with love. The avoidant partner who used to shut down at the sign of closeness, right? They learn to communicate without fear. They finally feel calm. They feel settled, and they're ready to engage in a committed relationship. A person who spent years single because they were told they had to fix themselves first discovers they were always worthy of love. They just needed the right tools to practice it. I've watched so many people in their 20s, 40s, 60s, even 78 and 79 years old rewire their attachment, okay? I've seen divorced parents rebuild love and security together. I've seen clients go from endless therapy sessions to finally marrying a healthy partner. Again, I love getting those wedding photos. If you're one of my clients, send me your wedding photo, by the way. I love those. But here, you're not behind. You're not broken. You just need the right system, and you've never been given that. The very fact that you're watching this video proves something important. You haven't given up. That's the seed of transformation right there. Look, what I've shared here today, I know it's powerful, but it's also just the start. We've covered how therapy can sabotage your dating life, why being more vulnerable and fix yourself first backfires, and the test you can use to see if your therapist really understands attachment and can help you or not. But knowing is not enough. You need clarity on your own patterns, the exact ways your attachment style is shaping your dating life. But knowing this is not enough. You need clarity on your own patterns, the exact ways your attachment style is shaping your dating life. And that's where my attachment assessment comes in. This assessment, this attachment styles quiz, if you want to call it that, is completely free. It's on my website at adamlanesmith.com. With this quiz, you're going to achieve a couple of very key things. First, you're going to pinpoint your attachment style and finally understand what's happening. And then you're going to learn exactly how that attachment style is impacting your relationships and what your patterns are. Remember I told you to go to your therapist and ask that? I'm going to show you. This quiz is also going to give you personalized next steps to start practicing the skills that I talked about here today. This isn't fluff or generic personality quiz nonsense. I didn't want to build that. I waited until I could build something with an exact framework that I use with my private clients. This is just deployed for you to use at home. If you want to stop wasting years in therapy that goes nowhere and you want to finally get a roadmap for secure love, start with my free attachment styles assessment. Click the link down in the description below or go to adamlanesmith.com, click resources and click attachment assessment. It's on there too. Because you don't just deserve to work on yourself, you deserve real connection and real results. You deserve love that actually lasts. And the first step to getting there is clarity and skill training. I'm Adam Lane Smith, the attachment specialist. Thank you for sharing your time with me here today. Please, while you're here, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Leave me a comment. Give me your thoughts on this. How long have you been in therapy? Tell me that. How many therapists have you had? How many years have you been in it? I'd love to hear from you. Make sure you ring the little bell for notifications. Come to my next live stream. I'd love to see you there. And watch a couple more videos here on this channel because this is just the beginning of your learning.